Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar series. We'll get started in just a moment when everyone's computers come online. Okay, welcome to our Lunchtime webinar series, which is held at noon Central Time on the second Tuesday of every month. Our series is designed to be short, just 20 minutes, loaded with information from the school. Each webinar in our series will feature a presentation followed by a short Q&A session. Feel free to ask questions in this webinar by typing into the question panel on your webinar control window. All of our webinars are archived on our website, which is farm2school.org, and that's also where you'll find additional resources related to Farm to School. You can also sign up for our email newsletters there, which will make sure you don't miss future webinars. If you have suggestions for topics or speakers you'd like to see this series cover, please send an email to Chelsea Simpson at chelsea@farm2school.org. And those addresses, both the email address and our Farm to School website, will appear at the end of the webinar. Any questions, we can get a chance to write them down. On today's webinar, we'll be talking about Farm to Preschool, resources and success stories for a growing movement. Our panelists today include myself, Chelsea Simpson. I'm the Membership and Communications Associate for the National Farm to School Network. And we also have on the line with us Emily Jackson, Southeast Regional Lead for the National Farm to School Network and Program Director at the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, ASAP. We also have Zoe Phillips, who is the Farm to Preschool Project Director at the Urban and Environmental Policy Institute at Occidental College. And I'm going to give it over to them now to give us today's presentation.
Hello. We're delighted to be here with you today, and thank you for your interest in Farm to Preschool. I'm Zoe Phillips with the Urban and Environmental Policy Institute, also known as UEPI at Occidental College in Los Angeles. And my co-presenter is Emily Jackson, and as Chelsea introduced her, she's with the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, which is also known as ASAP, and that's in Asheville, North Carolina. We co-lead the Farm to Preschool Subcommittee of the National Farm to School Network. Our third co-lead is Stacy Sobel from EcoTrust, who is not on this webinar today.
Over the course of this, to address each of the agenda items, we did not include what is Farm to Preschool, as we're making the assumption that you, as the audience, probably have a good idea of that, being familiar with Farm to School. But if you do need more information on Farm to Preschool, that can be found on UEPI's website at www.farmtopreschool.org.
So as we mentioned in the introduction, UEPI, ASAP, and EcoTrust are co-leads of the Farm to Preschool Subcommittee. This is a subcommittee of the National Farm to School Network, which was formed at its 2011 annual meeting. Other members on the subcommittee that we're very fortunate to work with represent the government, such as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. Members also include national organizations such as the National Head Start Association and the Food Research and Action Center. Also represented are locally based farm to preschool programs, as well as food producers and academia. As a subcommittee, as with the farm to preschool movement in general, we represent and serve all modes of child care, ranging from preschool, Head Start, family child care, and more. If you'd like to learn more about us and who we are, please visit the Farm to Preschool website, which is farmtopreschool.org, and click on About Us.
What we do is focus mostly on spreading the word and growing the movement. We do this through our monthly e-newsletters, resources provided on the Farm to Preschool website, which we'll talk about further, and promoting and engaging in research and evaluation. We're also very interested in engaging farmers and food producers more in this movement.
The Farm to Preschool website was launched in early 2012 and has a lot of information and resources on farm to preschool programming. Along the way in the webinar, we'll be mentioning a few of these, but we hope that you'll spend some time looking around the website on your own. The site is continually being updated, so if you have any case studies, information to share, or questions for us, please let us know through email at info@farmtopreschool.org, and that email address is at the bottom of the slide.
This electronic newsletter, Taking Root, is offered every month. The newsletter highlights a different farm to preschool program as a case study, latest information on grants and other, and it's a great way to get and stay connected. We also encourage you to share this resource with others. If you are interested in subscribing, all you have to do is click on the newsletter link at the bottom right of any page on the Farm to Preschool website.
And we're also in the process of developing online tools and resources to help jumpstart farm-to-preschool programs around the country. Today's webinar is the third of a set of complementary webinars designed to help listeners start or enhance existing programs. These webinars are or will be found on the Farm to Preschool website, including helpful how-to training videos. Our goal is to develop a web-based training and technical support network to meet the needs of programs on a variety of levels, including the procurement of local food and sharing best practices on creating sustainable change through policies. This slide lists the available webinars and trainings, and we'll be developing many more resources in the near future. So please stay tuned.
As an example of what we do, we conducted a national survey in the spring and summer of 2012. A conservative estimate as to how many children were reached through survey respondents is 163,450, and again, I would stress that that was a conservative estimate. 79% of the respondents reported that they served meals and snacks that include some locally grown food. And the majority of the respondents, and we found this surprising, described themselves as rural, as being in a rural area.
So this slide shows a visual graphic of the results from the national survey, and this can be found on the farmtopreschool.org website and will also be uploaded along with the online link to this webinar. Some highlights include that almost half of respondents have been conducting farm-to-preschool activities for over the past 3 years. It also gave a snapshot of how sites are incorporating local foods. We found that over 70% are incorporating local food into lessons. Almost 70% are using these foods in snacks or in meals. In meals, it's slightly over 65% of respondents. We also see where foods are prepared, and interestingly, the majority of sites, almost 65% of the respondents, have their food prepared at a central kitchen. There are many more results that you can check out online.
Farm to Preschool includes all modes of child care. There's a gamut of the child care homes all the way to Head Start centralized centers. And the whys of preschool are very similar to Farm to School, except that we're catching them a little bit earlier and helping to establish healthy eating habits and behaviors before they get too entrenched. It's also a great way and a time to start positive relationships with families.
So one of the most important aspects of farm to preschool programs is that they engage all sorts of different stakeholders. Certainly the children themselves are integral to the programs, but so are families, the providers, the food service staff, as well as farmers and other community members. And they are all important to support the activities of farm to preschool programs. This slide demonstrates how farm to preschool supports a healthy local food system on a variety of levels.
As you can see from this slide, these farm to preschool activities are very similar to farm to school, but we especially like to highlight 4 major areas, and those are the ones in bold: local purchasing, nutrition education, engaging parents, and wellness policies. Parents are particularly involved with children at this age, and it makes it for such an excellent opportunity.
So when considering to purchase local food, we first want to be clear that there is no USDA definition of local in this context. It largely depends on your location and access to local food, and that's something you may already be familiar about if you're already connected to the farm to school movement. This slide shows a number of different methods that providers can use to find local food. One of the easiest entry points is by working with the existing food to determine what local product is already supplied and encouraging more sourcing of local product. However, there are a number of other direct marketing approaches to purchase directly from farms and farmers, and that includes direct farm and farmers markets, farmer cooperatives and nonprofit collaboratives, also through community-supported agriculture, where a share of the harvest can be pre-purchased, as well as online market programs. These types of purchases can be facilitated by making use of the geographic preference rule for the Child and Adult Care Food Program, and our Farm to Preschool Subcommittee is working directly with this program as well as the USDA to develop very easy to read fact sheets as to how to use this geographic preference rule.
Classroom activities in preschool emphasize nutrition and or garden-based education. Most any lesson in science, math, early literacy, language development, and creative arts can be linked to the farm to preschool curricula. On-site activities can include edible gardens, both inside and outside, even in containers when no space is available in the yard. It's also important to point out that gardening promotes physical activity as well. Other classroom activities include cooking and tastings and visits from farmers. And if a farm doesn't come to you, you can go to the farm. So off-site activities can also include visits to farms or farmers markets.
We'd also like to highlight parent or family engagement. Parents are an important aspect of farm to preschool programming. In order to sustain increases in consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables and improve the health and well-being of families, positive changes need to be made at home, not just at the child care site. Workshops and home visits can provide the tools and resources that make it easier for both teachers and parents. At a recent training of Head Start teachers, we broke down the cost of a local food tasting for a classroom, which can be as low as $2 per classroom. And we had a lot of feedback, which indicated this was really useful information. Workshops can also include interactive nutrition education, cooking demonstrations, physical activity tips, education about seasonality, and empowerment, showing parents how to advocate for healthy food at the child care site. You can also provide newsletters and provide means for parents to take home produce through market basket programs, through going to farmers markets, and also from the on-site child care garden.
Training teachers and other care providers is critical to the success of any farm to preschool program. Without teacher or provider buy-in and support, even a well-planned program will not reach its potential. It's vital to seek out partners to sustain the programming, and we encourage you to explore pre-service opportunities. Pre-service in the sense that a lot of the people who are already in the early childhood education classroom are also in schools seeking a 2- or 4-year early childhood degree, and so you're impacting not only that teacher in the classroom but the future early childhood educators.
We'd also like to highlight wellness policies. Currently, there is no federal requirement for preschool wellness policies as there is in the kindergarten through grade 12 school district system. However, many states and communities are promoting them as important to institutionalize health and wellness activities in early care and education settings. These policies should be developed, implemented, and monitored through a committee of administrators, staff, and very importantly, parents as well. Wellness policies can outline farm to preschool activities such as preferential purchasing of local foods and also support nutrition education and standards for the types of food served. Another way to include support for farm to preschool activities could be to include language on on-site gardening and related activities. And examples and strategies of wellness policies are outlined on the Farm to Preschool website, which we'll tell you a little bit more about in a couple of moments. And we just want to emphasize that policies are very important for sustainability. For instance, if you have an engaged food service staff person who resigns, if you don't have a policy in place, you may end up starting all over again. So having a policy that can be sustained throughout changes in staff can be one way to better support your program.
As you have observed throughout this webinar, there are many similarities that we've drawn to Farm to School. Given the existence of the National Farm to School Network with 8 regional lead agencies and state leads in all 50 states, this is a wonderful opportunity for collaboration. Plus, many K-12 school systems include preschools and Head Starts. If you're new to this work, this is an excellent place to start. Find out if your school system already provides food for preschoolers. A school district participating in farm to school activities can easily incorporate farm to preschool programming. And this could look like offering a local food-based curriculum, associated activities, or participate in an existing school garden.
And another way of connecting to Farm to School is participating in National Farm to School Month, which is in October. And this was nationally legislated in 2011. The Farm to Preschool Subcommittee has helped leverage partnerships with child care organizations and the National Farm to School Network. For example, in 2012, October 18th was Farm to Head Start Day. We hope that in future years,
Next slide. Before we finish, we want to spend a few minutes. Hello?
We can hear you, Emily.
Okay, sorry. We just wanted to spend, I know we're almost out of time, but we want to talk quickly of 3 model programs from California, North Carolina, and Oregon. All of these programs emphasize local foods and preschool menus, facilitate farm field trips, and have a strong nutrition or garden-based curriculum. We will highlight what makes each of these unique.
And for our organization, UEPI in Occidental College, our Farm to Preschool program started in 2009, and it developed and continues to offer experiential learning activities that are linked to a nutrition and garden-based curriculum that meets Head Start learning domains and state standards. We offer technical assistance to sustain gardens, incorporate physical activity breaks focused on fruits and vegetables. We conduct parent engagement and empowerment for healthy food advocacy at child care sites. We've had a 2-year rigorous evaluation of our program with statistically significant results, and in 2012 was honored by Let's Move Child Care. You can learn more about our particular program at the web link listed at the bottom of this slide.
Here in North Carolina, SAP's been doing farm to school work for 11 years and our farm to preschool work for the past 5. In the last 2 to 3, though, we've just decided to make things easier on ourselves and kind of blend farm to preschool into our overall farm to school work. So when we offer a mini grant, for instance, for a school garden, we make that available to K-12 as well as preschool. We're also engaged in a very exciting pre-service project where we're integrating farm to preschool into early childhood education programs and working closely with one Head Start Center, which is the learning lab for the project. And so we're learning a lot about how to integrate farm to preschool into early childhood programs. North Carolina is also interested in forming a statewide coalition, while at the same time we are forming a local food work group. And again, if you want to learn more about what we're doing here in North Carolina, you can go to the website at the bottom of the page.
And our third co-lead organization is EcoTrust. And EcoTrust partnered with the Oregon Child Development Coalition to launch a pilot program from 2008 to 2009. After a successful pilot program, it expanded to additional preschools and also formed a partnership with a low-income Latino farm. In 2012, EcoTrust helped develop a statewide farm-to-preschool coalition, which provides a coordinated and comprehensive approach in Oregon. EcoTrust also promotes outreach, partnership building, and community connections through this statewide coalition. You can learn more about them and their program at the website listed below.
So here are some resources and avenues for connecting you to this farm to preschool movement if you're not already involved. I'm sure that you will agree with us that farm to preschool is just full of potential, and that we hope you found this webinar helpful. On behalf of the National Farm to School Network and the Farm to Preschool Subcommittee, we thank you for your participation in today's webinar.
Thank you so much, Emily and Zoe, for the great presentation. It was really fantastic, and thank you everyone here for attending. We will take questions now. I see a few people have already entered information. If you have a question related to farm to preschool in any way, please type into the questions area of your webinar control panel. I have a couple questions related to whether or not this webinar will be archived, and it will. We have been recording. The slides themselves will also be available on our website, farmschool.org. I'll go ahead and toggle between the next 2 screens on this presentation so you can see that website address. If you have a question that doesn't get answered on today's webinar or that isn't directly related to farm to preschool but is related to farm to school in general, you can send it to me. That's the second email, the second address there, the email address, chelsea@farmtoschool.org, and I'll be happy to either answer it myself or direct it to someone who can. One of our first questions today is where people can go for more information or resources for farms that want to get involved with farm to preschool.
This is Zoe. Our main resource that we have available right now, and as I mentioned, we're continuing to develop, is the Farm to Preschool website, farmtopreschool.org. We do have a section on local food and local food sourcing. And this is one of the areas that we really want to develop more, and we're reaching out to more and more farms and to other food producers. If you have specific questions for us, if you'd like to get directly involved with us, definitely email us, info@farmtopreschool.org, and we can better connect you directly to the kinds of activities we're doing at a national level.
Our next question is, how did Oregon identify the local Latino low-income farm, and how did that collaboration begin?
Go ahead, Zoe.
Emily, go ahead.
Stacy is the person who works in the Eco Trust in Oregon, and we'd be happy to pass that question along to her for her to answer specifically. I'd hate to speak for her, but we'd be happy to get your information and pass that question on.
If the person who has that question would like to email me, I'm happy to forward it to Stacy. Are cooks finding it extra challenging to purchase directly from growers versus distributors?
I think that, this is Emily, I think that depends upon the size of the early child care center. If they're small, like a home-based center, they may be to work with a local farmer themselves. But if they're a large center that already gets their product through a produce distributor, then it might be easier to connect local farmers to the distributor, and then that way they're getting it through their existing system. So I think it has a whole lot to do with the volume that they're working with, and their interest in spending time trying to engage with farmers, and or if they're already working with an existing produce distributor.
Thanks, Emily. Great information here. Another quick question about the conference that was mentioned at the end of your presentation. Where could people find more information on the Childhood Obesity Conference? Who's hosting that?
Once the webinar is posted online, the link to the conference is embedded into the name of the conference. You can also look, I believe it's the 7th Biennial Childhood Obesity Conference that will be held in June 2013 in Long Beach, California. And you can also search online for it using that information.
And here's a question about curriculum. Are there farm to preschool specific curriculums that have been developed?
This is Zoe. Yes, there definitely are. There are, if you look on the website, the Farm to Preschool website, there's an entire section devoted to curricula. And some of these curricula have been developed. What we really try to do is promote free or low-cost curricula. Some have been developed not particularly with farm to preschool in mind, yet they do incorporate gardening activities, cooking activities, and some seasonality. You'll also find on the website that there are several specific farm to preschool curricula that have been developed. And so I encourage you to look online and kind of scroll through those resources. But it's definitely out there. You certainly don't need to reinvent the wheel if you're thinking of creating a new curriculum for your classroom.
There are also a number of resources on farmtoschool.org if you're interested in curriculum and information on the broader farm to school. I completely agree with Zoe. Reinventing the wheel is what one of our primary missions to help people avoid doing that. I have another question and comment here from a pediatrician who's been volunteering in schools for a few years and wants to bring a after-school obesity prevention clinic to the area, but has a question about grant funding. Where do you recommend people look or look for grants that will relate to this work?
We try to, that information is on the Farm to Preschool website as well, and we include that more timely information in our monthly e-newsletters that go out. So I encourage you to sign up for that to get monthly updates on that type of resource. But grant funding can also be found on the Farm to Preschool.
Network. We also post grant information as we find it here and there on our social media feeds, our Facebook page and Twitter, which you can find links to those on our homepage. There are lots of good resources we try to share as fast as we can. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is Zoe. Just one thing to quickly add that may not be captured on the websites is that we've heard of locally based programs that have gone to their local community hospitals and have received small, $1,000, $2,000 grants from them. So definitely, look at the resources that are on both of the websites mentioned, but also look to your community as well, because there is just more and more effort going towards helping preschool-aged children, and and certainly, if you're a pediatrician and already connected to a hospital, that might be another route to go.
And then, I don't know where this pediatrician is, but if you happen to be in Western North Carolina, you could apply for one of ASAP's school garden grants or farm field trip mini grants that we make available, as I mentioned earlier, to preschools as well as K-12.
And to connect to your local resources, I'll just go back a few slides here. The National Farm to School Network has this great network, as the name implies, that will help you connect to folks in your area for grant information and everything else. The colors here indicate our regional areas. As I noted earlier in the webinar, Emily's our Southeast regional lead person, but we also have people in each state who act as point people, and they're great resources for farm to school information, farm to preschool information, really across the board. If you're looking for something local, I usually recommend they're the first place to look. Here's a good question about procurement, and this is kind of farm to school in general, but would probably apply. When purchasing from a small grower, do you have suggestions as to what to do to assure that we're covered with liability, and what should we ask for? I'll just note that this is sometimes dependent on your local situation as well, and what your regulations are in your school district and state. So this is a question that would be good to take to your state lead, like I was just mentioning. But Zoe and Emily, do you have any additional comments for that?
I think, like you said, Chelsea, that does have everything to do with where you are and what your particular regulations are in your state. So not just your regional lead, but your state lead would probably be your best bet in helping you figure that out in your state.
And here's a great question about where to start. If someone has a small child care center or perhaps a home provider, what do you suggest they start with if they want to integrate farm to preschool into their existing?
Ooh, I would start, this is Emily, I'd start with a garden, because to me that's the constant on your campus, because you may not cook every day, or every week, or even maybe every month with your children. You definitely won't go to a farm all that often, but a garden is the constant on your campus, and that's something that if you wanted to take advantage of it every day, you could, just even if it's just for checking the weather or checking the rain gauge or doing your reading outside or your or language arts outside. So I think starting small with a container garden or a small raised bed is a great way to introduce children to the wonders of local food, and it doesn't get much more local than if they're growing again in their own schoolyard.
And I'll add to Emily's suggestion, which is great, that if you are interested in making connections with any local farmers markets, really what we recommend, and excuse the pun, is reaching for the lowest hanging fruit, which literally could mean incorporating some local fruits that are in season into your snacks that are offered at school, or if you don't offer snacks or any meals at school, you can host taste tests as well. And that's a very easy way to start incorporating local from farms, farmers markets, however you're able to access local food in your area.
Oh, I apologize. I just had a note that said that our the audio was not working there for a moment. Sorry about that. I was just giving a couple notes of comments that have come in from our staff while we've been discussing the questions. One comment was that the conference we were discussing a moment ago is being hosted by the California Department of Public Health, so you might look to them for more information about that. Another comment that regarding procurement, there's a great guide out of Washington that covers local food safety procurement issues. And if you're interested in that and can't find it online, you can send me an email at the address here on the screen. I'll be happy to send you a link. And I have another question here relating to getting started with Farm to School. What your perspective or input is regarding the best ways to pull in parents and get them involved, especially considering how busy people are.
This is Emily. I can talk about when we started a Farm to Preschool at a local Head Start. We had we made use of an existing parent night, and so it's a night that the parents would typically be coming. And so on that parent night, usually the parents go in one direction, the children go in the other, and instead we together and we did things such as we had the garden ready, and they planted plants. We had a chef there doing a cooking class with children. We had a meal for the families that was about, all around local foods, and so it was a local food meal that was provided, and we had all kinds of little activities in the different classrooms as a way to engage the parents and the children together in this. But you could also do the same thing over bringing parents and children together over establishing just one piece of that, like a garden on the campus of the preschool.
Right, and I'll definitely echo Emily. We've worked very extensively with parents, and for us in Los Angeles, primarily with low-income parents. And what we found is that, as Emily said, to try and link with them at already planned parent meetings. I know, for instance, Head Start has mandatory monthly parent meetings, and that's one way to start, introducing Farm to Preschool, as well as its concepts and components. Also, parents do appreciate newsletters as well. And if you don't have the capacity to create your own newsletters, I encourage you to look online. There are some such as through Harvest of the Month, and I believe the website is harvestofthemonth.org. And they have parent newsletters that focus on a particular seasonal fruit or vegetable. And it's not, this was developed in the state of California, but it's used in many different states around the country. It's not specific to California. and this is a pre-made newsletter that you can share with parents that talks about seasonality and other farm to preschool concepts.
I think we have time for one or two more questions here. One question that is, I think, relevant to all areas of farm to preschool and farm to school is community partners. Besides connecting, with your state leads and parents, maybe gardening clubs, what are some other community partners that offer support services or might be good for folks to work with when they look into starting their program?
Cooperative Extension might already be doing something in your county with the preschool age. We found out in the county that we started working in that they were already doing cooking with some preschoolers in that particular county. So that's one community partnership that I would look into. Also, farmers, of course. They might already be selling or being engaged, might be part of some education for a preschool, bringing farm animals to a preschool. Chefs is another community resource. They might be really interested in coming and doing taste tests or simple cooking demonstrations with children. So that's another community partner that you could look to. Zoe, what else?
In addition, at the county level, because of our childhood obesity epidemic, there are many counties offer childhood obesity initiatives that are usually headed by the county's Department of Public Health. They can be a great resource not just for connecting to their initiative, but also connecting to their network of community partners, because they're very focused on reaching out to the community, and that's a great way to really explore kind of who's out there and who's already interested as well. We also work very closely with resource and referral agencies who license child care sites, centers, Head Start, and they also license family home care providers, and you can connect with them as well. We've had a lot of really wonderful partnerships with our local resource and referral agencies.
I'd also probably want to put in a plug for birth to kindergarten programs at the university or college level, early childhood education programs at the community college. There are folks in charge of the training of early childhood educators. And then I'd also encourage you to connect with your local, which is probably part of your County Department of Health, the WIC office, doing a Women, Infant, Children program. They're always interested in nutrition ed opportunities.
Those are great resources. Thank you so much to both of you for all of the great information today. Just one additional note as we wrap up the questions. The resources I was mentioning a moment ago are at harvestofthemonth.com. Not .org, but I'm sure if you Google Harvest of the Month, that would be another easy way to find them. But thank you so much, Zoe and Emily, for the presentation. Thank you to everyone else for attending. And as I mentioned, if you missed part of the discussion today, you can find these slides and additional resources at farmtoschoolmonth.org on our webinars tab. These will be up probably in about a week's time, but if you registered for the webinar, you will also get an email when those resources are available, so you don't have to keep going and looking for them. But thank you so much for attending, and we hope you join us for our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.